Sharpie people, Traci Reed here today using the brand new free Beautiful Dreamer collection available on my site. There is a link in the description box below for you to check it out, but today I'm going to be using it to scrapbook. I have these photos from back in February that match this collection pretty perfectly, and so I'm going to be scrapbooking myself today.
All right, so when working with like an abbreviated collection, which this doesn't feel abbreviated, right? It's still a very large three-piece collection, but when working with an abbreviated collection like this, it's actually a lot easier for me to decide what I want to do because there's less product to choose from. It's easier for me to make decisions, right? There's less to choose from, so it's easier to choose. Sometimes when I have a big collection and it's brand new to work with, it takes me forever just to decide what product I want to use. So I'm really glad for collections like these that make it easy for me to just go with it. So I knew I wanted to use that journal card that said, don't follow your dreams, chase them. And I was going to use a journaling card too, although I wasn't sure which journaling card yet. I thought maybe the gingham, blue gingham, but no, we're going to use a different one. I knew I wanted to layer some of these papers. The way that that pink and blue stripe worked with these photos was just spectacular, so I knew I wanted that one to be behind my photos. And I'm going to do some paper tearing because I seem to be obsessed with it lately. Maybe it's my laziness coming out. I don't have to get out the paper trimmer, although this is definitely more work, so maybe I'm just lying to myself. But I knew I wanted to use some paper tearing, and I think that helps cut up some of the or break up some of the horizontal and vertical lines that are created in layouts like this, in pages like this where there's like some extreme vertical going on. So I have these two photos and I'm going to mimic the photo placement on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I thought I was going to use two journal cards at this point, but when I start putting it together, it doesn't really flow, especially since I'm using this blue heart paper behind the journal cards. I was going to use the blue gingham journal card too, but you know, that was blue on blue and it wasn't really working for me. So I'm pulling this together. I'm trying to be subversive to myself and putting the words at the bottom of the page because I tend to put the words at the top of the page, like the journal card or the title. So I'm putting them at the bottom of the page, and I get out another journal card. This one for actual writing because I obviously can't use the blue one now. So I didn't want to use the plaid either. So what I'm going to end up doing is I move the wordy journal card up to the top, and I'm just going to cut these journal strips out, and I'm going to use them as word bits or journal strips rather than a journal card. And I think that is a good decision because it frees up space down there and doesn't make everything look as cluttered. I'm going to ink the edges of these journaling strips, and I also do it to the journal card, and I think that really helps them stand out against this light blue paper. So I really like that, and I'm going to put all these down and then I'll add my journaling later. So I kind of offset them a little bit so it's not a straight line. It sort of mimics the tear next to it. And then I decide that I'm going to use some Tim Holtz Distress Oxide in the brand new color, the new peachy color, which is called Saltwater Taffy. And then I also got Tumbled Glass, which matches that blue perfectly as well. So I'm just splattering everywhere, making sure that I do it before I do anything else so that it can dry. And then I'm going to start working on this page while it dries. So I decided I wanted a cluster right in between the two photos. So I'm going to add this It's Going to Be Amazing, but I didn't like the way that the paper tears and the photos showed behind the wreath. So I'm going to get out my 2-inch circle punch, and I'm going to punch a circle in this blue gingham to go behind the It's Going to Be Amazing, making sure that I line everything up so that blue is all around the edges. And then I'm going to pop it up on some foam tape too, just for a little bit of dimension. One of my tricks when using printables to create dimension, since you're working with just basically all paper, is to pop things up on foam tape, give them a little bit of depth, and it helps to make your layout pop. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then that gives me room to tuck these florals underneath as well. So I'm just going to arrange them in a couple clusters around the photos and on the other side as well, just so that there is some balance. I'm not going to go all the way around the wreath because I still want the wreath to show. If I wanted it to be a floral wreath, I would have just created a floral wreath, but that's not what I want. I want the wreath to show, and I want there to just be clusters filling in some of the space around the edges. You know I love my florals, so I gotta include them. I'm using these little tiny tri-floral clusters to sort of add a little depth and a little interest to the main clusters in the collection. These are all in part one. In the collection, I included, you can see single florals, single leaves, as well as clusters, so that you can build your own clusters or you can use the ones that I made. But I'm not going to use any of the single florals. I like clusters. It's easier for me to work with them. So I decided that there is just not quite enough going on this side. And so I'm going to add in maybe some hearts, not another floral. Nope, we're not going to do that. That's too much. But I am going to add in some hearts from the collection. The hearts are on the part 3, which is available in the newsletter, as well as these word strips. So what I do is I put this one down and it says so worth it. The layout is going to be about how when I was young and I started this business, my career, most people doubted me. I would assume if my 19-year-old was trying to start an art business, I would also be a little bit hesitant because, you know, artists never make money is what we hear all the time. So this layout is going to be about how I stuck with it and powered through, even though most people doubted me, and basically look where I am now. So that's so worth it, and it's going to be amazing are the sentiments that I'm going with for this side of the page. So I put that so worth it down, and then I end up putting down another word bit, and they both work, but they're both pink. It's going to be that dream, believe, do, repeat. But the pink repeats, and it just throws off the whole vibe of the layout. I should have put that heart where I just had it and then stopped there. That would have been a great balance, but I wanted to pull out some embellishment to the outside edge of the page as well, and of course that is when I put this down, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it was really started bothering me later, so we're going to rearrange things. I'm sorry if you can hear the construction. It is that time of day when they are out there, so I apologize. Someday they'll stop building things behind my house. So this is where I make another fatal error, and I end up putting another heart up in the top right corner. Oh, after I do this. Okay. So first I'm going to put down this scallop because it was cute and I liked it and it was fun. So I want it to be on both sides of the photo, so it creates a bit of a gap. So I'm starting to put things down here, trying to make it work. I put this heart back, and then I'm going to just sort of move this whole floral cluster over to cover up that gap. But it takes me a second. Definitely takes me a second to make sure everything fits right. All right. So then I decide to put in a heart in the top left corner after I get these flowers down. And you can see my struggle. The problem was that the blue flowers fit and covered up that space nicely, but then it was like on top of the blue flowers, so I had all the blue flowers, and so I was really struggling with everything fitting perfectly. So I'm just going to move the whole thing. We're going to move the wreath, we're going to move the flowers, we're just going to move everything to make sure that we cover up that spot. And then we get it to work eventually. All right, moving on. I end up putting a heart up in the top left-hand corner. There we go, finally. And it looks okay in the moment, but when I put the second side next to it, it is just way too many hearts and too much blue. Like, I don't know why, it's just too much. And so I need to figure out that problem. First, I'm going to put another floral cluster over here just to draw your eye from the other side. And then I want to put a word bit over here too, a navy one. It says, what does the navy one say? Well, we'll see in a second. I want to put a navy one over here though, just to balance out the navy. And I actually end up at the end of this video switching out that navy polka dot paper for a navy striped paper, because I felt like the polka dot paper was just, it had, next to that floral paper, it had too much going on. There's too many like dot-like papers going on. Oh, that's what it says. It says it's never too late. There were too many dot-like papers going on, and so I end up switching it out for the navy stripe, which you would think that there were too many stripe papers going on after that. But the way that the stripe kind of is the opposite of the stripe in the floral paper really works. So anyway, side note, I don't actually do it on camera. You'll see it in the videos or in the still at the end, but I just wanted to note that I was going to change that. So I pull off that heart because obviously it's not working out for me, and I'm going to put it over here. And I think part of the problem was that there was just too much navy on the left hand side of the page with those hearts, and so that was what I was struggling with. I thought about putting a different word strip up here because I felt like there needed to be something to like bridge that gap, but I'm going to end up putting that "It's Never Too Late" up there instead. First, I'm going to cut off this floral, and then I'm going to use that floral bit in other places like I like to do. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to slide it right under here. It always reminds me of that TikTok sound that says, "They're never going to know." How would they know? Where you're doing something sneaky. How are they going to know? Okay, so I move everything over a little bit, and that leaves me enough room to move that "It's Never Too Late" up at the top, or in the between, instead of at the bottom. So I'm gonna do that. I try first to move that pink over there because I didn't like the repetition of the two pink word strips over there. You can see like it's the minute details, right, that really stick out for me when I am scrapbooking. Like things that nobody else would probably ever pay attention to really bother me. And so it's probably the designer eye in me, or the lean toward a little bit of obsession with balance, but there, you know, there's just certain things that bother me and I have to fix them. So we're going to be sneaky with this other part of this floral as well, but I'm actually going to layer it right on top of its own little bit there, but I'm going to do it in a way that sort of hides a lot of that blue so that it just kind of looks layered and pretty, framing that top edge of that corner and that photo really nicely. It's almost like a photo corner, like it brackets the whole layout and gives you somewhere like visually to lead into the layout. All right, lastly, we are going to add in, well, after I get this done, then we are going to add in some enamel dots, I think. Yeah, maybe. Trimming this off. And then I'm going to add in my journaling and call it good. Oh, not enamel dots. We're just going to ink the edges. Yes, we're going to ink all the edges and we're going to add in journaling and call it good. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. And I will see you next time. All right. Thank you.